The doctor looked at me over his glasses and said, "Madam, you are pregnant." For 1 second, I thought he was joking. Before we continue, please comment where you are watching from and subscribe so you can hear more stories like this. I laughed. A loud, sharp laugh that surprised even me. I was 51 years old. I was a grandmother. I had gray strands in my hair and reading glasses in my handbag. Pregnancy was something I remembered from long ago, like an old song I used to sing. But the doctor did not laugh back. He turned the computer screen toward me. On it were numbers and lines, and one word that made my stomach drop. Positive. My laugh died in my throat. My mouth went dry. My hands began to shake. "Sir," I whispered, "that is not possible." He asked softly, "Why do you say that?" Because I had lived through pain that changed my life. Years ago, after my last child, I had a surgery. I remembered the cold smell of the hospital, the bright lights, and the nurse who held my hand and told me to breathe. After that day, the doctors told me I could never carry a baby again. So if this test was true, then something was terribly wrong. Either the doctor in the past had lied, or the doctor in front of me was wrong, or something had happened to my body without my knowledge. And if something had happened without my knowledge, then it meant someone had done something to me. Something I did not agree to. Something I did not even understand yet. The doctor leaned closer and said, "I need to ask you some questions. Have you taken any fertility drugs? Have you had any procedure recently? Any treatment you did not tell us about?" I stared at him, confused and scared. "No, I am a grandmother. I came because I have been tired. I have been getting dizzy. That is all." He nodded slowly, like he believed me, but he also looked worried. Then he said, "We need to do a scan today." I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. A scan meant pictures. Pictures meant truth. I thought of my grandchildren at home. Little Jamal who still slept hugging his toy car. Sweet Zara who liked to braid my hair and call me Grandma Queen. They were the reason I woke up every day and pushed myself forward, even when life felt heavy. I swallowed and asked, "Doctor, is it dangerous?" He did not answer the way I wanted. He only said, "Let us check first. Then we will talk." As I stood up, my knees felt weak. I tried to hold myself with a smile, like I always did. But inside, I was breaking. And then, right there in the hospital hallway, my phone vibrated. A message popped up from an unknown number. It said, "Stop going to hospitals. If you keep asking questions, you will regret it." My breath stopped. My fingers went cold. Who sent that? How did they know I was in the hospital? I looked around the hallway. Nurses walked past. A man in a cap sat near the corner, staring at his phone. A woman pushed a baby stroller, singing softly. Everything looked normal. But suddenly, the whole place felt like a trap. I held my phone tighter and whispered to myself, "What is going on?" Now listen closely, because I want to ask you something. If you got a message like that, would you run away, or would you stay and fight for the truth? I wanted to run. I wanted to go home and pretend I never heard the word pregnant. But I also knew something important. When you ignore a problem, it does not go away. It grows bigger. And sometimes it grows teeth. So I followed the nurse into the scan room, even though my legs wanted to turn back. The room was cool and quiet. The lights were dim. The nurse smiled gently, trying to calm me. "It will be fine, Ma." She placed gel on my belly. It felt cold like rainwater. Then she moved the scan machine slowly, watching the screen. At first, I saw only dark shapes. My eyes searched for something I understood. Then the nurse's smile faded. She leaned closer to the screen. Her eyebrows pulled together. My heart began to pound again. Is it a baby?" I asked. She did not answer. She pressed a button and called for the doctor. The doctor entered quickly, his face serious. He stared at the screen for a long time. Then he asked the nurse to print something out. My hands shook so much I had to hold them together. "Doctor," I said, trying to sound strong, "please tell me what you see." He took a deep breath and said, "There is a pregnancy, yes." For a split second, my mind went blank. Then he added, "But there are things here that are not normal." That word again, normal. I felt tears sting my eyes. What does that mean? He looked at me like he was choosing his words carefully, like the truth was sharp and he did not want to cut me too deeply. Before he could speak, my phone vibrated again. Another message from the same unknown number. This time it said, "You think it is your body. It is not just your body. It is your family. Keep quiet." I could not stop my hands from trembling. The doctor noticed my face and said, "Are you okay?" I forced a nod, but inside I was screaming. My family. What did my pregnancy have to do with my family? The doctor began to explain, but I barely heard him because my mind was racing. I thought of my daughter, Rose, who lived in another town. I thought of her husband, Mark, who always smiled too much and asked too many questions about my money. I thought of the way he once joked, "Grandma, you are still strong. You can still do anything." At the time I had laughed. Now that joke felt like a stone in my stomach. I tried to focus on the doctor's voice. He said something about dates, something about my medical history, something about needing more tests. Then he said, "We should also confirm your records. There is a note here about a surgery, but it is not clear. Did you ever have a procedure that would stop you from having children?" "Yes," I said quickly. "I did. Years ago. I remember it clearly." He frowned. "Then we need to know why this is happening." He printed out my scan result and handed it to me in a brown envelope. "Do not panic. But please come back tomorrow morning. We will run more tests and also check your previous hospital records." I nodded, even though I felt like I might faint. When I stepped outside, the sun felt too bright. The world sounded too loud. Every person who walked by felt like a possible threat. I held the envelope under my arm like it was a secret. On my way out, I passed the reception desk. A young clerk was typing on a computer. I saw my name on her screen for a moment. Then she quickly clicked away. Maybe it was nothing. Or maybe it was everything. I reached the parking area and stopped. There, near my old car, was the man in the cap I had seen earlier. He lifted his head and looked straight at me. And then he smiled. Not a friendly smile. A smile that said, "I know you." My legs froze. My throat tightened. I turned slowly, pretending I did not notice him. I unlocked my car with shaking hands and got inside. My heart was beating like a drum. I told myself, drive. Just drive. But before I could start the engine, my phone rang. It was Rose. "Mom," she said, and her voice sounded strange, like she had been crying. "Where are you?" "I am at the hospital," I said carefully. There was a pause. Then she whispered, "Mom, Zara is missing." Everything inside me went cold. My granddaughter. My sweet Zara. My hand slipped on the steering wheel. Rose cried, "She was here, Mom. She was just here. Then she was gone. And there is something else. Someone left a note on the table." "What note?" I asked, my voice barely working. Rose sobbed and read the words out loud. It said, "Now you will learn what it means to keep quiet." And in that moment, I understood. This was not just a strange pregnancy. This was a threat. This was a trap. And whoever was behind it had just taken the one person I loved most. My whole body felt like ice when Rose said, "Zara is missing." I could not even breathe well. "Rose," I said, forcing my voice to stay calm, "listen to me. Do not shout. Do not run outside. Lock the doors right now." "I already did," she cried. "Mom, what is happening? Why would someone do this?" I looked through my car window again. The man in the cap was still near my car. He was not smiling anymore. He was watching me like he was waiting for something. "Rose," I whispered, "I think this is connected to me." "What do you mean?" she asked. I did not know how to explain it. How do you tell your child that you went to the hospital because you were tired, and the doctor told you something impossible, and now your granddaughter is missing? My hand shook as I held the phone. "Rose," I said, "go into your room. Put Jamal with you. Keep everyone close. Tell Mark not to leave the house." There was another pause. Then Rose spoke slowly. "Mom, Mark is not here." My stomach twisted. "Where is he?" I asked. "He said he was going to buy something," she said, her voice small. "He left before Zara went missing." My mind began to connect dots I did not want to connect. Rose's husband, Mark, was the kind of man who acted sweet in front of people. He called me, Mama, and carried my bags. But I had also seen how his eyes changed when money was mentioned. How he listened too closely when I talked about my savings. How he asked questions that did not sound like love. I wanted to believe he was innocent. But right now, Zara was missing. And my phone had received 2 threats. I swallowed hard. Rose, call the police. I tried, she said. They said I should search around first. They said children sometimes wander. My heart hurt. Zara was not a child who wandered. Zara was careful. Zara always asked permission. Zara always held my hand in the market. Rose, I said, I am coming. I ended the call, threw my phone into my bag, and started the car. My hands were still shaking, but I forced them to obey me. Then my phone rang again. Unknown number. I did not want to pick it, but something inside me said, answer. So I did. A man's voice came through, calm and low. Grandma. I almost dropped the phone. Who are you? I demanded. He chuckled, like my fear amused him. You went to the hospital. You were told you were pregnant. And you still do not understand. Where is my granddaughter? I shouted. He did not raise his voice. Safe, for now. My throat tightened. If you touch her. He cut me off. Do not make threats. You are not in control. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles hurt. What do you want? He paused, like he enjoyed the moment. We want you quiet, he said. No police. No questions. No hospitals. You will do exactly what you are told. And if I don't? I asked. He replied, then the next message will not be words. My heart jumped. I forced myself to think clearly. If I panicked, I could make Zara's situation worse. Tell me what to do, I said. Good, he said. Drive home. When you arrive, do not call anyone. Go inside. Check your mailbox. Then he ended the call. I did not know what he meant by mailbox. Where I lived, letters did not always come. But I still had a small metal box near my gate, where bills and notes sometimes appeared. I drove fast, but not reckless. I kept checking my mirror. Twice, I thought I saw the same car behind me. When I finally reached my street, I saw my house in the distance. And I stopped. There was someone standing near my gate. A woman. She wore a scarf and a long dress. She looked like a normal neighbor, the kind who sells vegetables or walks to the market. But she was holding something. A small brown envelope. My heart beat harder. As I drove closer, she looked up. And I knew her. It was Nurse Lillian, the same nurse who held my hand during my surgery years ago. The same nurse I had not seen since that day. My mouth opened, but no words came out. I parked quickly and stepped out, my legs weak. Nurse Lillian, I said. What are you doing here? She looked around, then rushed toward me. Do not say my name loudly, she whispered. Her eyes were scared. Please, we do not have much time. I stared at her, confused. What is happening? Why are you here? She pushed the envelope into my hand. They told me to bring this. They said if I don't, they will hurt my son. My hands shook as I held the envelope. Who are they? She swallowed. People who pay for secrets. A chill ran through me. I looked toward my gate, my window, my street. Suddenly, every shadow looked suspicious. What secret? I asked. Nurse Lillian's eyes filled with tears. Your surgery, she whispered. My stomach dropped. My surgery was real. I remember it. It was real, she said. But not the way you think. I felt like the ground was moving under my feet. Explain, I said, my voice sharp. She grabbed my arm. Not here. Inside. We rushed into my living room. I locked the door and pulled the curtains. My heart was pounding like it wanted to break free from my chest. Nurse Lillian sat down, breathing hard. I tried to forget, she said. I tried to live a normal life. But now they are back. I stared at the envelope in my hand. I had not opened it yet. My fingers felt stiff. Tell me the truth, I said. My granddaughter is missing. Someone is threatening me. My doctor said I'm pregnant. None of this makes sense. Nurse Lillian wiped her face. Years ago, she began, you came to the hospital after your last baby. You were tired. You were weak. You said you wanted to be done with childbirth. I remember, I said. You signed papers, she continued. But you did not understand what you were signing. You trusted the doctors. Anger rose in me. I can read. She shook her head. You can read, yes. But they used medical words and pressure. They told you it was a simple procedure. They made you feel safe. My hand tightened around the envelope. What did they do to me? Her voice dropped to a whisper. They took something from you. I felt dizzy. What? She looked into my eyes. Your eggs, she said. Your fertility. Your future. They stored it. My entire body went cold. That is impossible, I said. Why would they do that? Because there is money in it, she whispered. And because powerful people pay for what they want. I felt sick. But, I was told I could never carry again. She nodded slowly. That was the lie. They said it so you would never ask questions later. I could not speak. My mind was spinning. If what she was saying was true, then my body had been used like a tool. Like a thing. And now, at 51, somehow, I was pregnant. I thought of the messages. Stop going to hospitals. Keep quiet. I thought of Zara. I forced myself to breathe. Open the envelope, Nurse Lillian said, her voice shaking. That is what they want. And that is what you need. I swallowed hard and tore it open. Inside was a single sheet of paper, folded neatly. There were words printed in black ink. My eyes scanned the page, and my heart sank deeper with each line. It was a contract. A contract with my name on it. A date from years ago. And a signature. My signature. But I did not remember signing this. At the bottom, there was a sentence that made my blood run cold. Subject agrees to cooperate fully. Noncompliance will result in immediate consequences to subject's family. My hands began to shake so badly the paper rattled. Nurse Lillian leaned forward. Look at the stamp, she whispered. I looked. It was the stamp of the hospital. The same hospital I visited today. The same hospital that told me I was pregnant. My throat tightened. This is real. She nodded, tears falling. Yes. I stared at the page until the words blurred. Then my phone vibrated again. A new message. This time, it was not a warning. It was an address. And beneath it, one line. If you want the girl alive, come alone. Bring the scan results. My heart slammed against my ribs. Alone. Bring the scan results. They were calling me to a place I did not know, and they had Zara. I turned to Nurse Lillian, my voice shaking but firm. Do you know this address? I asked. Her face changed. Color drained from it. She whispered, that place is where they do it. Do what? I demanded. She looked at my belly, then at my eyes. And she said the words that made my blood run cold. They are not just taking your baby, she whispered. They are preparing to take you too. Before I could respond, the power in my house suddenly went out. Everything went dark. And in the darkness, I heard a soft sound from behind my door. A key turning. Someone was unlocking it from the outside. The door handle moved slowly. Click. I held my breath. Nurse Lillian's eyes grew wide. She covered her mouth with her hand to stop herself from screaming. My heart was beating so loud I was sure whoever was outside could hear it. I looked around my living room quickly. No weapon. No back door nearby. The windows were covered with curtains, but they were old and weak. I was a grandmother, not a fighter. My strength was not in my arms, but in my mind. The handle moved again. Click. I whispered, go to the kitchen. Hide. Nurse Lillian shook her head. They told me not to leave your side. Go, I said firmly. If they take me, someone must live to tell the truth. Tears filled her eyes, but she nodded and slipped quietly toward the kitchen. The door opened. A man stepped inside. He was tall, clean clothes, calm face. He looked like someone who worked in an office, not someone who kidnapped children. Behind him was another man. Shorter, strong, no smile. The tall one spoke first. Good evening, Grandma. My hands shook, but I stood straight. You have no right to be in my house. He smiled softly. This house is part of the agreement. I laughed bitterly. An agreement I did not understand. He stepped closer. Understanding is not required. Obedience is. I felt anger rise in me, hot and sharp. Where is my granddaughter? He tilted his head, still breathing. Because you are cooperating. I clenched my fists. You sent me an address. Why come here? To make sure you do not do something foolish, he said. His eyes moved around the room. Like calling the police. I said nothing. He nodded, like he already knew. Good. The shorter man walked past me and looked around, opening drawers, checking behind curtains. Sit, the tall man said. I sat slowly, never taking my eyes off him. You have the scan results? He asked. I pointed to the envelope on the table. He picked it up and opened it, scanning the papers carefully. Yes, he said. Everything is progressing. I felt sick. You talk about my body like it is a machine. He shrugged. Machines are useful. That sentence told me everything I needed to know about the kind of person he was. I leaned forward. You said come alone. Why bring men into my home? Because you are not as harmless as you look, he replied. Women like you survive too much. You ask too many questions. I smiled slowly. Then you made a mistake. His smile faded slightly. What mistake? You underestimated a grandmother, I said. Before he could respond, a loud crash came from the kitchen. Nurse Lillian. The shorter man turned quickly and rushed toward the sound. The tall man cursed under his breath and moved closer to me. What did you do? I told her to hide, I said. But fear makes noise. The shorter man returned, dragging Nurse Lillian by the arm. She cried out in pain. Please, she begged. I did what you asked. I delivered the envelope. The tall man sighed like he was tired. You were told to leave. They said you would kill me if I didn't, she cried. He looked at her coldly. That was not a promise. That was motivation. I jumped up. Leave her alone. He turned to me sharply. Sit down. I did not. For the first time, his calm face showed anger. You were making this difficult, he said. Good, I replied. Because my granddaughter is missing. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he nodded to the shorter man. Take the nurse, he said. She has served her purpose. No, I shouted. The shorter man began to pull Nurse Lillian toward the door. She screamed my name. I'm sorry for everything. Something inside me snapped. Stop, I yelled. I will go with you. I will do whatever you want. Just leave her. The tall man paused. He looked at me carefully, like he was measuring my words. Then he smiled again. There it is, he said. The grandmother. He nodded to the shorter man. Let her go. The shorter man pushed Nurse Lillian away. She fell to the floor, crying. But, the tall man continued, you will come now. I swallowed hard. Where is Zara? You will see her soon, he said. If you behave. I turned to Nurse Lillian. She looked broken, scared, shaking. Go, I whispered. Run. Tell everyone. Tell the world. She nodded and crawled toward the back door. The tall man did not stop her. Why let her go? I asked. Because by the time anyone believes her, he said, it will be too late. That sentence felt heavier than a slap. He gestured toward the door. Let's go. They did not cover my eyes. They did not tie my hands. That scared me more than anything. Outside, a black van waited. I got inside. As the door closed, I felt something cold press against my arm. A needle. Sleep, the tall man said calmly. I tried to fight it. I thought of Zara. I thought of Jamal. I thought of every woman who trusted doctors and never asked questions. My vision blurred. The last thing I saw was the tall man's face as he spoke softly into a phone. She's secured. Prepare the facility. The subject is ready. Then everything went dark. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying on a narrow bed. White lights above me. The smell of chemicals. Machines beeping slowly. I tried to move, but my arms felt heavy. I turned my head. And there, in the corner of the room, sitting quietly on a small chair, was Zara. She looked at me with wide, scared eyes. Grandma, she whispered. Relief flooded me so fast I almost cried. But before I could speak, a voice came from behind me. Do not comfort her, the voice said. This room is not for love. I turned my head slowly. Standing beside my bed was a woman in a white coat. I recognized her immediately. She was the doctor. The same doctor who told me I was pregnant. She looked down at my stomach and smiled. We are about to begin, she said. And then she added softly. Whether you survive it or not. Depends on how useful you remain. My heart nearly stopped when the doctor said those words. Whether you survive it or not depends on how useful you remain. I tried to sit up, but my body would not listen to me. My arms felt heavy. My legs felt like they were filled with sand. Grandma, Zara whispered again. Her small hands were shaking. Zara, I said softly, forcing my voice to stay calm. My sweet girl, are you hurt? She shook her head quickly. No, they said they would hurt me if I cried. Pain cut through my chest, sharp and deep. I looked at the doctor. She is a child. Let her go. The doctor did not even look at Zara. She adjusted her gloves and checked a screen beside my bed. This child is insurance, she said calmly. Nothing more. I clenched my teeth. You will pay for this. She smiled, the kind of smile that had no warmth. People say that when they are powerless. Another woman entered the room. Then another man. All of them wore white coats. To anyone outside, it would look like a normal hospital room. Clean, quiet, professional. But I knew better. This was not a place to heal. This was a place to take. One of the men said, "Vitals are stable." The doctor nodded. Good. Increase the drip slowly. I felt a cold wave move through my arm. Stop, I said weakly. You are hurting me. She leaned closer. Pain is temporary. What we gain lasts forever. I turned my head toward Zara. Look at me, I said gently. No matter what happens, remember this. Grandma loves you, and you did nothing wrong. Tears filled her eyes. Grandma, please don't sleep. I will try not to, I whispered. The doctor noticed our exchange. Enough talking. She snapped her fingers, and one of the men moved toward Zara. Take her out, the doctor said. She should not watch this part. Zara screamed. No, Grandma. Zara, I cried. Be brave. She was pulled toward the door, crying my name, reaching for me. The door closed. The room felt empty without her. That was when fear truly settled in. I was alone. The doctor looked down at my stomach. Your body is rare, she said. Healthy, strong, even at your age. Women like you are valuable. I am not a thing, I said. She shrugged. Value does not require consent. I remembered the life lesson my mother taught me long ago. When someone tries to make you feel small, it is because they are afraid of what you know. So I stopped begging. I stopped crying. And I started watching. I watched where they placed their tools. I watched how the doctor spoke to the others. I watched the screen. One of the men said, "There is a problem." The doctor turned sharply. What kind of problem? The readings are unstable, he said. Her body is reacting. I felt a sharp pain tear through my stomach. I screamed despite myself. The doctor frowned. That should not be happening. I gasped, you don't know everything. She ignored me and turned to the others. Adjust it. Now. They pressed buttons. The machines beeped faster. My vision blurred, but I forced my eyes open. Then the lights flickered. Once. Twice. The room went quiet for half a second. The doctor looked up. What was that? Before anyone could answer, the lights went out completely. Darkness swallowed the room. Someone cursed. Another voice shouted, "Power failure." I lay there in the dark, my heart racing. In the darkness, I heard footsteps running. Then shouting. Then something crashing to the floor. And then, a sound I never expected. A child's voice. Grandma. Zara. How did you? The doctor began. A loud alarm suddenly filled the room. Red emergency lights came on, flashing. In the chaos, I saw Zara standing near the door. Behind her was a familiar face. Nurse Lillian. Her clothes were torn. Her face was bruised. But her eyes were strong. I told people, she shouted. I told everyone. The doctor's face twisted with anger. Stop them. Two men rushed toward Zara. Without thinking, I pulled with all my strength against the straps on my arms. Something tore. Pain shot through me, but I did not stop. I ripped one hand free. Then the other. I sat up, screaming, my body burning. The machines began to beep wildly. The doctor shouted, "Restrain her." But it was too late. I grabbed the metal tray beside me and threw it. It hit one of the men in the head. He fell. Nurse Lillian grabbed Zara and ran. The doctor turned toward me, her eyes full of rage. You are ruining everything. No, I said, standing on shaking legs. You ruined it years ago. Sirens wailed in the distance. Police. Real ones. The doctor stepped back. You think this ends here? I took a step toward her. It ends today. Suddenly, a sharp pain tore through my stomach again. stronger than before. I cried out and fell back onto the bed. The doctor looked at the monitor. Her face changed. "This is not good," she muttered. I felt something warm. Too warm. She whispered, almost to herself, "We're losing her." I looked at the flashing lights, the running people, the sirens getting closer. And the last thing I heard before everything faded again was the doctor's voice saying, "Prepare for emergency extraction. Now." Then everything went silent. I woke up to a quiet sound. Not alarms. Not shouting. Just a slow, steady beep. For a moment, I thought I was dead. Then I felt a small hand holding mine. "Grandma," a soft voice said. I opened my eyes. Zara. She was right there, sitting beside my bed. Her eyes were red from crying, but she was smiling. "You're awake," she whispered. "They said you would wake up." I tried to speak, but my throat was dry. I nodded instead. The room looked different from before. It was brighter, warmer. The walls were pale blue, not white. There were flowers on a small table. This was a real hospital room. A safe one. Rose stood up from a chair near the window. When she saw my eyes open, she ran to me and held my face. "Mom," she cried. "Oh Mom, I thought I lost you." I touched her cheek. Where am I?" "The police hospital," she said. "You're safe now." Memories rushed back like a storm. The dark room. The doctor. The pain. Zara being taken. The sirens. I looked around quickly. The baby. Rose swallowed. Her eyes filled again. "Mom, the doctors tried everything." My heart sank. She held my hand tighter. "Your body was too weak. They said the pregnancy was forced. It should never have happened." Tears slipped from my eyes, but not just from sadness. From anger. From relief. From knowing the truth. "I understand," I whispered. A police officer stepped into the room. He removed his cap and spoke gently. "Madam, the people responsible have been arrested. The doctor. The men. Everyone involved." "What about the hospital?" I asked. He nodded. "Shut down. Investigations everywhere. What happened to you has happened to others. You were brave enough to survive and speak." I closed my eyes. All those years, I thought my life was simple. That my biggest role was to be a grandmother who cooked, laughed, and told stories. I was wrong. Sometimes, life makes you fight even when you are tired. Sometimes, being quiet is dangerous. Zara climbed onto the bed carefully and hugged me. "I was scared," she said. "But I remembered what you told me. To be brave." I held her as best as I could. "And you were. You saved me too." Days later, when I was stronger, a woman came to see me. She was a lawyer. She spoke about justice, about trials, about change. But what stayed with me most was something else. One evening, as the sun went down, I sat at home with my grandchildren around me. Zara asked, "Grandma, why did bad people do that to you?" I thought for a moment, then said, "Because they thought I was small. And because they thought I would stay silent." She nodded slowly. "But you didn't." "No," I said. "I didn't. And that is the lesson I want you to remember. Age does not make you weak. Trust should never replace understanding. And silence, when something is wrong, can be more dangerous than fear." When the doctor told me I was pregnant at 51, I laughed. But what followed taught me this. Even a grandmother can stand up to darkness. And when she does not stand alone.